Welcome back to the O&O Sports YouTube channel. Today, we bring you the ACC head coach tier list. Now, if you haven't already seen our previous two tier list videos, be sure to go and check those out. We've done the SEC and the Big Ten head coach tier lists. You guys seem to really enjoy that Big Ten head coach tier list. Got a lot of engagement there, and we appreciate that greatly. So today, we are bringing you the ACC head coach tier list. Now, if you've not seen the previous two episodes, this is how the tier list is going to work. We have our elite tier, our great tier, our good tier, average, poor, and hot seat. Elite, the best of the best, going to be your national title favorite head coaches. Great, just a step below that, probably not national title, but perennially a playoff contender. Usually probably going to be top 15 guys. After that, we have the good tier, just a step below great, obviously. Probably haven't achieved as much, might be earlier on in their careers most of the time. Then we have the average tier. These are going to be guys that haven't really achieved much, probably early on in their career or later in their career, and they've fallen off from one of these great or good tiers. Poor, pretty self-explanatory. They have not been that good, probably have a negative head coaching record. And hot seat, these are going to be the bottom of the barrel guys. They're probably going to get fired in the next season or two. Obviously, you don't want to be in this tier if you're a head coach. And then we have our brand new tier. Like the title of this tier says, these are brand new head coaches. They have no experience, so we're not going to grade them because the rating scale is based on everything up to this point. We are not taking in potential, what we believe they could do this year or in the future into account here. And we're only grading them based off previous college head coaching experience at the FBS level. No FCS head coaching, no NFL coaching, no assistant coaching, nothing like that. And we have all 17 ACC coaches. They added 3 teams and an additional head coach. We will talk more about that when we get there. You will see what I'm talking about. And as always, if you enjoy this video, be sure to like and share with all of your friends, literally all of them. Go ahead and send it to your dad, your mom, your uncle, your best friend from high school that you haven't talked to in a few years. Go ahead and do all of that. And if you don't like the video, feel free to dislike, feel free to drop a comment saying, you know what, I think you're wrong about this head coach, that head coach, whatever you believe. Also, if you are a fan of the channel and you have not subscribed yet, over 90% of our viewers are unsubscribed. So if you do enjoy our videos, please go ahead and drop a subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Cannot thank you enough. And with all of that out of the way, our first head coach, a new hire, it's Bill O'Brien at Boston College. There's some nice alliteration there. Bill O'Brien is hired at Boston College after he accepted Ohio State's offer to be offensive coordinator, obviously then turned that down in favor of the head coaching job at Boston College. And he was hired after a pretty abysmal past couple years for the university. In O'Brien's career, he served as the head coach of Penn State from 2012 to 2013, went on to the NFL, had some coordinator experience, and now he's at Boston College. In those 2 years at Penn State, he went 15-9 with a 10-6 conference record, and he has not made a bowl game, so he does not have a bowl record. For awards and championships, he has none. He's only had 2 years of college football head coaching experience, and for recruiting at Penn State, he averaged the 40th ranked high school class. Now, this is a pretty easy average tier for me. He's not done much, hasn't had a ton of experience, but in the limited experience that he's had thus far, he's been pretty solid, pretty decent. Needs to up those recruiting numbers if he wants to make a meaningful impact there at Boston College. And it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to the college level. Will he be able to bring Boston College back? I mean, they've never really been back, but you never know. Bill O'Brien could be the guy that takes him there. And after Bill O'Brien, we have Brent Key of Georgia Tech. Now, Key was hired as the interim head coach after Jeff Collins was fired in 2022, and he's somewhat exceeded expectations so far in his career. He was hired at Georgia Tech, of course, in 2022, like I just said, and then became the full-time guy in 2023, and he's still there now. Overall, he's gone 11-10 with a 9-6 conference record. Pretty solid numbers there, and he's 1-0 in bowl games. Now, why do I say he's somewhat exceeded expectations? Well, in the previous 10 years, Georgia Tech's had a 456 win percentage. And since they've hired Key these past couple years, they've had a 524 win percentage now. That's not great numbers, but it is a 70-point improvement from the previous regime or regimes. As for awards and championships, he has none. And for recruiting numbers, he has averaged the 50th ranked high school class with the 41st ranked transfer class. Pretty okay numbers there. All in all, he's not been awful, so he's not going to get the poor. Hasn't been great either, so he's going to be our second average head coach. Honestly, Georgia Tech is one of the more interesting teams to me in the ACC just because they had a pretty good offense last year year. Haynes King is a pretty good quarterback there at Georgia Tech. And if they can get that defense put together and have that offense be as good or better than they were last year, they could honestly be a pretty good football team this year. But like I said, we are not taking potential into account. So as for what he has done so far, he's only an average head coach. Nothing to sneeze at, but lots of room to grow there. Up next, we have our second Brent of the video. It's Brent Pry of Virginia Tech. Now, if you saw our post-spring top 25 video we did last week, you would see that Virginia Tech was ranked in that top 25, and that is for good reason. They return a lot of production. They've improved under Pry, and Pry has an opportunity to bring Virginia closer to the top spot in the ACC. Probably not ACC championship caliber yet, but considering what he's done, that 2022 season looked worrisome. Didn't look great that year, but in 2023, they improved on every front almost. And if they can take another leap like that in 2024, they could be one of the better teams in the conference. Now, for Pry's career, he was hired at Virginia Tech in 2022, where he is now. Overall, he's gone 10-14 with a 6-9 conference record, and he's 1-0 in bowl games. For awards and championships, he has none, and for recruiting, he's averaged the 40th ranked high school class at Virginia Tech with the 59th ranked transfer class. Now, those numbers are way down a little bit just because of that first year. That first year was not good, like I said, but second year improved a lot. The offense looked decent. They had those quarterback issues that they have probably addressed in getting drones, and that defense was a pretty solid unit last year. So I could honestly see Pry being a good tier head coach after this year, but like I said, we'll try to tone down the future casting. Brent Pry is our third average head coach. And after Pry, we have one of the more controversial head coaches in the sport. It's Dabo Swinney of Clemson. Now, Dabo has become an enigma of sorts in college football because he's proven he's a top guy and he can take Clemson to a national championship, but he actively chooses to handicap himself and his team by not going into the portal. Over the past few years, adding players in the portal has been key to success at the Power 5 level. And despite that, he still has a perennial top 15 caliber team. And Clemson is rarely bad. I mean, last year was their worst season in years, and they were still a relatively good football team. In his career, he started as the interim head coach at Clemson in 2008, was hired full-time in 2009, and he's been at Clemson ever since. His overall record is 170-43 with a 104-22 conference record. Amazing numbers there. In bowl games, he's gone 12-8, and in playoff games, he's 6-4, 10 playoff games, and he's won a majority of them. As for awards and championships, he is a 2-time national champion in 2016 and 2018. An 8-time ACC champion in 2011, all the years through 2015 to 2020 and 2022. He is a 1-time AP Coach of the Year in 2015, and he is a 2-time ACC Coach of the Year in 2015 and 2018. And for recruiting, he's averaged the 13th ranked high school class while at Clemson with the 129th ranked transfer class. Obviously, transfers are the issue there. Dabo does not believe in bringing in transfers unless he's recruited them or the player has played for Clemson in the past. Now, despite the past couple years not being quite as good as those late 2010 years, I believe Dabo Swinney is still easily an elite tier head coach. We know what he's capable of. We know he has firepower, and any given year, really, Clemson could be back in that top 10, top 5 even range. And for that, Dabo Swinney is our first elite tier head coach. Up next, we have Dave Clawson of Wake Forest. Now, despite being as experienced as Dabo, Clawson has flown way further under the radar, and I mean, understandably so. Dabo's a national championship winning head coach, and despite the experience, Dave Clawson has not made it there yet at Wake Forest. Now, he started at Bowling Green in 2009, where he was until 2013, and he's been at Wake Forest since 2014. Overall, he has a positive record of 95-93. At Bowling Green, he was perfectly even, 32-32, with a 23-17 conference record, not bad there. And at Wake Forest, he's gone 63-61 with a 30-49 conference record. And in bowl games, he's perfectly even. In terms of record, he's just the definition of mid, literally 500 in most of those aspects, including bowl games, which is just pretty funny to me. For awards and championships, he's a 1-time Mack champion in 2013, and he is a 1-time ACC Coach of the Year in 2021, where they won 11 games that year. Not many people remember that. Wake Forest was a great team in 2021. And as a little fun fact for Dave Clawson, he's the only head coach in the NCAA to have won 10 games in a single season at 4 different Division I institutions. I thought that was funny when I was doing my research. As for recruiting, at Bowling Green, he averaged the 90th ranked high school class, and at Wake Forest, he's averaged the 61st ranked high school class with the 72nd transfer class. Now, like I said, Clawson is just the pinnacle of average, so he's going to be our 4th average head coach. Honestly, not his fault. I mean, Bowling Green and Wake Forest aren't the best schools to coach for in the country, and for what he's done, he's been pretty decent. He might be the best average coach of the 3 so far, considering the experience that he's had. But unfortunately, we don't have a category in between good and average, so Dave Clawson is going to be our 4th average head coach. And after Clawson, we have Dave Doeren of NC State. Now, Doeren has elevated NC State into a consistent winner in the ACC for the better part of a decade, and he's had several AP top 25 finishes since 2016, and he's kept them in that range of 8 to 10 wins a year, but he's yet to reach that double-digit win threshold at NC State, even though he's had teams capable of doing so. In his career, he started at Northern Illinois in 2011, where he was for 2 seasons, and then he was hired at NC State in 2013, where he's stayed until now. Overall, he's 104-62 at Northern Illinois. He went 23-4 in those 2 seasons with a 15-1 conference record. And at NC State, he's gone 81-58 with a 44-46 conference record. And in bowl games, he's 4-5. For awards and championships, he's a 2-time MAC champion in both of those years he coached at Northern Illinois in 2011 and 2012. And for recruiting, he averaged the 99th ranked high school class at NIU, and at NC State, he's averaged the 42nd high school class with the 48th ranked transfer class. Now, for what he's done at NC State, I mean, Northern Illinois, if this was a MAC head coach tier list and we were talking about those Northern Illinois teams in the early 2010s, Dave Doeren would probably be an elite tier, but at NC State, he's been relatively good. Like I said, hasn't been able to elevate NC State to that 10-win team. Could they do it this year? Maybe. They were really good last year apart from that offense. Really only apart from the quarterback position. They had an elite defense, honestly. Just couldn't get it done on the offensive side, or else they probably would have reached that 10-win threshold that Doeren has desperately been trying to reach. And up next, we have Fran Brown of Syracuse. Now, we will keep this short and sweet because Fran Brown is a brand new head coach. But in his career, Brown has revealed himself to be one of the best position coaches and recruiters in the country, and his stops at Temple, Baylor, Rutgers, and of course, Georgia. Now, he has no head coaching experience, so for that, he's our first brand new tier head coach. It'll be interesting to see what his approach is as a head coach at Syracuse. He's had the 37th ranked high school class and the 25th ranked transfer class in his first year there. And while you might be thinking those numbers are pretty average, for Syracuse, those are very, very good numbers, already doing numbers in the recruiting department. Like I said, Fran Brown is one of the better recruiters in the country, and he's shown that. So it'll be interesting to see what his philosophies are, what strategies he brings at Syracuse, and if he can elevate them to a winning football team. And after Fran Brown, we have Jeff Brohm at Louisville. Now, Brohm surprised everyone in his first year at Louisville by making the ACC championship in his first year and finishing with a top 25 team in 2023. Now, we knew Brohm was a pretty good head coach just based on what he did at Purdue, but I don't think anybody was expecting a 10-win season at Louisville in his first year, but that's exactly what he did, and there's good reason for that we'll get into in a second. In his career, he started at Western Kentucky in 2014, where he was until 2016. He was then hired at Purdue in 2017, where he was until 2022, and he was hired in Louisville in 2023, where of course he is now. As for his record, overall he's gone 76-48 in all his stops. At Western Kentucky, he was 30-10 with a 19-5 conference record. At Purdue, he was 36-34 with a 26-25 conference record. Not many people talk about how good that stint was at Purdue. Purdue just relatively bad historically, and in his time there, he gave them a positive conference record, which goes criminally underrated when talking about head coaches. And at Louisville, he of course went 10-4 last year with a 7-2 conference record. And for bowl games, he's been 5-2, very good numbers there. For awards and championships, he's a 2-time CUSA champion in 2015 and 2016. And as for recruiting, at Western Kentucky, he averaged the 100th high school class. At Purdue, he averaged the 49th ranked high school class and the 83rd ranked transfer class. And at Louisville, he's averaged the 44th ranked high school class with the 13th ranked transfer class. And that has been the secret sauce for Brohm. Getting those transfers in at Louisville last year really helped them out, really eased the growing pains there. A very, very fundamentally solid defense there and a pretty decent offense. The only problem was the quarterback, Jack Plummer, was very inconsistent. But despite that, Jeff Brohm is going to be our second ranked good head coach. And he could be a fringe great head coach if he could string together a few more of those seasons like he had last year at Louisville. He could easily be a great guy next year if he goes and makes the ACC championship again, which is a fairly decent possibility. If you watched our top 25 video, if you haven't, be sure to go ahead and watch that. We had Louisville ranked pretty highly just because of how good that defense was and how good Jeff Brohm is as a stabilizer and what he's done in that transfer portal. And up next, we have Mack Brown at North Carolina. Now, we've talked about OG head coaches in this series, but Brown is the OG's OG in college football. He's been everywhere. He's done everything over the course of almost 4 decades. I believe this year will be his 39th season as a head coach. Just an all-time great. Really no wrong you can say about him in his career. And for his career, he started at Tulane in 1985, where he was until 87, where he was then hired at North Carolina in 88, where he remained until 1997. And then he was hired at Texas in 98, where he stayed until 2013. Took some time off, and now he's back at North Carolina. He was hired there in 2019, where he is now. Overall, he's gone 276 and 144 with 1 tie. That is how long he's been coaching. He has a tie in his record. At Tulane, he went 11 and 23, and they weren't in a conference, so no conference record. At Texas, he went 158 and 48 with a 98 and 33 conference record. Pure dominance there. And at North Carolina, he's gone 107, 73, and 1 with a 64 win, 53 loss, and 1 tie conference record. And that tie was in 1990 against number 13 Georgia Tech. And funnily enough, they tied 13-13. And in bowl games, he's gone 14 and 12. Like I said, he's done everything for awards and championships. He's a 1-time national championship in 2005 with Texas, 2-time Big 12 champion in 2005 and 2009, 1-time ACC Coach of the Year in 1996, 2-time Big 12 Coach of the Year in 2005 and 2009, and he is a College Football Hall of Famer. And for recruiting, we don't have any stats available before 1999, as 24/7 Sports does not keep track of classes before 99. So from 99 and beyond, at Texas, he averaged the 7th ranked high school class, and at North Carolina, he's averaged the 21st ranked high school class with the 49th ranked transfer class. Now, Mack Brown is a legend, but in his stint at North Carolina since he was hired back in 2019, North Carolina hasn't been a world beater. They haven't been a top team in the ACC usually. They've been a pretty good team in the ACC. They've had ACC championship caliber teams, but not ACC championship winning teams. So we could give Mack Brown elite if we were considering that he's won a national championship, but that was over 20 years ago. I don't believe he's great either. He's going to be our 3rd good head coach. There's a lot of recency bias there, I admit, but in the great year of 2024, I don't believe Mack Brown necessarily deserves a great or elite tier. If we were talking full career stats, obviously he'd probably be an elite guy. I mean, he is a Hall of Famer, but as of the past 5-6 years, he's only been good in our eyes. And that might be a bit controversial. I mean, it's hard to argue with the numbers in the past few years, but regardless of that, we still have a lot of love for Mack Brown. And after Brown, we have Manny Diaz of Duke. Now, Diaz has gotten kind of a bad rep for his time at Miami, and honestly, it's a little bit undeserved. I mean, Miami wasn't very good, but they weren't very bad. And he's got a good defensive mind that, when he was hired in Penn State after his Miami stint, helped elevate them to an elite defense. All things considered, he hasn't been able to put it all together as a head coach. Definitely didn't do that at Miami. For his career, he was hired at Miami in 2019, where he was until 2021. After that, went to Penn State as the coordinator, and then was hired at Duke this past offseason. Overall, he's gone 21 and 15 with a 16 and 9 conference record at Miami, and he was 0-2 in bowl games. For awards and championships, he has none, and for recruiting, he averaged the 18th ranked high school class with the 48th ranked transfer class at Miami. Now, in my eyes, Diaz is a perfect fit at Duke. Duke coming off a couple good years with Elko. Elko, of course, leaves to Texas A&M. And Duke isn't a team that's going to be expecting you to take them to greatness immediately or even in the next 5 years probably. So they're going to give Diaz time to flesh out his offense. The defense shouldn't be a worry because Manny Diaz is a great defensive mind. But giving Diaz time to work on that offense should help him a lot. As for right now, he's going to be our 5th average head coach. Like I said, he's got a lot of potential, but we are not taking that into account, like we said. Up next, the +1 in this video, it's Notre Dame's Marcus Freeman. Now, Notre Dame isn't in the ACC, but we wanted to add them because I feel like it'd be unfair to leave Notre Dame out of the tier list series, considering they are a really great team with a really good head coach and a really good young head coach at that. Freeman is the 4th youngest head coach in college football, and he was tasked with taking over after Brian Kelly left for LSU in 2021, and he's put Notre Dame in a good spot since then. They had a rocky start to Freeman's tenure, but he's really been able to put them in that great spot, like we said, and he's produced 2 top 25 seasons in his first 2 years there. Now for his career, he was of course hired at Notre Dame in 2021, where he is now. That's his only stop, and overall he's gone 19-8 with no conference record, and he's 2-1 in bowl games. For awards and championships, he has none, and for recruiting, he has averaged the 9th ranked high school class with a 45th ranked transfer class at Notre Dame. And for that, Freeman is going to be our 4th ranked good head coach. Now, he is very young, he is very promising, he is going to be a fringe great guy probably. Could be great even next year if he has the kind of season that we're predicting he may have at Notre Dame. But for now, he is our 4th good head coach. And after Freeman, we have Mario Cristobal of Miami. Now, Cristobal has been a curious case at Miami for a few different reasons. It feels like he should be a top-end head coach and should be in the top of the ACC every year, but he just hasn't been so far. This year feels like a make-or-break year for Cristobal at Miami, but honestly, I think he should be awarded however much time he needs. It looks like it's going to work. He made it work at Oregon. Just hasn't been able to work out the kinks so far. In his career, he started at Florida International in 2007, where he was until 2012. Then was hired at Oregon in 2018, where he stayed until 2020, and then moved to his alma mater, Miami, in 2022, where he remains now. Overall, he's gone 74-73. Doesn't sound that good, but when you consider his early years at FIU, where he went 27-47 with a 20-26 conference record, you can see why those numbers are a little bit weighed down. At Oregon, he went 35-13 with a 27-14 conference record. Very good numbers there. And at Miami so far, he's done 12-13 with a 6-10 conference record. Not great numbers there. And in bowl games, he's gone 3-4. For awards and championships, he is a 1-time Sun Belt champion in 2010, 2-time Pac-12 champion in 2019 and 2020, 1-time Sun Belt Coach of the Year in 2010, and a 1-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year in 2019. For recruiting, he averaged the 80th ranked high school class at FIU. At Oregon, he averaged the 10th ranked high school class with the 59th ranked transfer class. And at Miami, he's averaged the 9th ranked high school class with the 10th ranked transfer class. Great recruiter. That is what he's known for. Unfortunately, hasn't been able to put it together on the field at Miami, but we're predicting a pretty big season for Cristobal and Miami in 2024. And honestly, with the numbers that he's put up at Oregon, he's won Pac-12 championships. He's capable of winning ACC championships. Hasn't yet, obviously. And those recruiting numbers, just off the charts. We are going to give Mario Cristobal the first great head coach ranking. And up next, we have Mike Norvell at Florida State. Now, as we've talked about before on this channel, Mike Norvell has put Florida State in a great position in the ACC, and he's brought them back to national relevancy. They were a top 5 team last year, arguably top 4, but we won't get into that. And he's been absolutely phenomenal at Florida State, and he's restored them as the ACC's top team in the past couple years. Now, in his career, he started at Memphis in 2016, where he was until 2019, and he was hired at Florida State in 2020, where he remains now. Overall, in his career, he's gone 69-33. At Memphis, he went 38-16 with a 24-8 conference record, and he had 2 top 25 finishes there at Memphis in 4 years. Just insanely dominant at that level. And then he jumped to Florida State, where he's gone 31-17 in his first 4 years with a 20-13 conference record. And that record would be even better, but it is weighed down by those first couple seasons. the COVID year and that 2021 year were not very good. But in the past 2 years, Norvell has proved how good he is. But in bowl games, he's only gone 1-5. Not great, but considering the level he's played at, not too worrisome there. For awards and championships, he's a one-time American champion in 2019, a one-time ACC champion last year in 2023, and a one-time ACC Coach of the Year last year. For recruiting at Memphis, he averaged the 66th ranked high school class with the 42nd ranked transfer class. For Memphis, those are great numbers. For any group of 5 team, those are really good numbers there. And at Florida State, he's averaged the 19th ranked high school class with the 6th ranked transfer class. Norvell at Florida State has been a pioneer of the portal primary recruiting philosophy. And notice I said primary and not only. Norvell's ability to portal in talent to stick in and fill in gaps where it is needed has been what has elevated Florida State to that national title contention. The past, really only last year is their only time in national title contention, but the year before also being a double-digit win team. And for that, Mike Norvell is going to be our second elite tier head coach. Any coach that can recruit at that level, can win at that level, and can win meaningful games, win championship games, is going to be in the elite tier. And Mike Norvell is exactly that. And before we get into the final stretch of head coaches, if you've enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe. It really helps us out. We appreciate the support and we really enjoy making these videos. So if you enjoy watching them, just let us know. And up next, we have Pat Narduzzi of Pitt. Now, Narduzzi has his plate full with Pitt in 2024. Pitt was straight up bad in 2023, but there's plenty of upside and you can expect around a 9 or so win team with Pitt in any given year. Just wasn't their year last year. In Narduzzi's career, he was hired at Pitt as a head coach in 2015, where he stayed until now. His overall record has been 65-50 with a 43-31 conference record. Pretty good numbers there for the ACC, and he's had a 2-4 bowl record. For awards and championships, he is a one-time ACC champion in 2021. And for recruiting, he's averaged the 46th ranked high school class with the 51st ranked transfer class. Pretty underrated guy Pat Narduzzi is. People forget that Pitt won that ACC championship game in 2021. And overall, Pat Narduzzi is going to have to be our 5th ranked good head coach just because of the level Pitt has been able to play at. Pitt, of course, is not a historically great program. And like I said, he's been able to keep them in that 7 to 10 win range in his time there. And for that, he's our 5th ranked good head coach. And after Narduzzi, we have Virginia's Tony Elliott. Now, Tony Elliott was considered one of the best coordinators in the sport in his time at Clemson, was hired in 2022 at Virginia. And that has not really translated into his head coaching tenure. Elliott was tasked with taking over Virginia after the Bronco Mendenhall era. Pretty good years there for Mendenhall. Towards the end, not that good, but Elliott has not been off to a great start there at Virginia. In his career, like I said, he was hired in 2022, where he is now. Overall, he's gone 6-16 with a 3-12 conference record. No bowl game appearances, not great numbers there. For awards and championships, he won the Broyles Award as a coordinator, but as a head coach, he has no awards or championships. And for recruiting, he's averaged the 72nd ranked high school class with the 50th ranked transfer class. Really not good numbers there. And unfortunately, Elliott doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt because he's had 2 seasons. This is his 3rd year, and we're looking at a hot seat season for Tony Elliott. It's hard to imagine that they keep him around if he leads Virginia to a season like they've had the past 2 years. Just hasn't been great. His offensive style has been decent, but as a head coach, he's not been able to put it together. Like you've seen with the numbers, not a great recruiter. Done okay in the transfer portal, but nothing of substantial success. And for that, he is our first hot seat head coach. Now, after Elliott, we have Justin Wilcox at Cal, and we are into our 3 new ACC additions. Obviously, it's pretty funny that Cal is one of the teams being added to the ACC because they are not an Atlantic coastal team. They are on the very, very opposite side of the country. California, the state that the university is named after. And the Wilcox era at Cal has been one of steady mediocrity, not necessarily very good, but after a decent end of the 2010s, Cal has only reached a bowl game once, and that was last year. And they've showed signs of improvement, but it will be hard to see. It could be just that the Pac-12 has been a pretty decent conference the past couple years. Moving to the ACC, where teams seem to also be improving, might prove to be bad for Wilcox and the Golden Bears. And we'll have to wait and see if Cal can improve really under Wilcox. In his career, he was hired in 2017 at Cal, where he remains to this day. And for his overall record, he's gone 36-43 with a 21-37 conference record and a record of 1-2 in bowl games. Not very good. For awards and championships, he has none. And for recruiting, he's averaged the 52nd ranked high school class with the 55th ranked transfer class. All around pretty subpar numbers. Like I said, Cal has been pretty mediocre in Wilcox's tenure, and for that, he won't necessarily get the hot seat because he hasn't been awful. Cal has made a few bowl games, especially last year. Last year's season at Cal was inconsistent, but not bad overall. So for that, Wilcox is going to be our first poor head coach. Again, you don't really want to be there, but it's a step above hot seat, which is where you really don't want to be. And after Wilcox, we have another new addition. It's Rhett Lashlee of SMU. Now, Lashlee has quickly turned SMU into an American powerhouse in his first 2 years there, and they'll have the talent to be competitive in the ACC. We'll get more into that in a second. In his career, he started at SMU in 2022, where he is now, and his overall record, he's gone 18-9, 14-3 conference record, with a bowl record of 0 wins and 2 losses. He's a one-time American champion last year in 2023. And for recruiting, he's averaged the 87th ranked high school class with the 19th ranked transfer class. And SMU has been very good under Lashlee because he's placed that emphasis on the portal. He's portaled in a lot of talent from the Power 5 level, and that has really helped him at the Group of 5 level. Now, it'll be interesting to see if that translates, just considering how the ACC is already going to have Power 5 level talent. Will they be able to elevate their talent acquisition level by joining the ACC? We'll have to wait and see on that. But for now, Lashlee is going to be our 6th good ranked head coach. And last but not least, barely not least, we have Troy Taylor of Stanford. Now, Taylor had to rebuild Stanford after a putrid end to the David Shaw era there. And in his first year, he showed us how bad Stanford is fundamentally. Stanford has fallen off a cliff in recent years, but hopefully Troy Taylor can get it moved around, get them fixed, get them back to where they were in the late 2010s. For his career, he was hired at Stanford last year, where of course he remains now. And in his lone season as a head coach at Stanford, he went 3-9 with a 2-7 conference record. No bowl games, no awards or championships, and for recruiting, he's averaged the 37th ranked high school class with the 97th ranked transfer class. Overall, not good numbers, but he does get the benefit of the doubt because he's only been there 1 year. Could be an average guy if he can elevate Stanford to a 5, 6, 7 win team, but just hasn't been able to do that. Hasn't been completely awful, and he's still early on in his career, so he's not going to be quite hot seat. He's going to be our 2nd poor head coach, and he is our last head coach of the video. Guys, if you enjoyed it, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, share with all your friends, share with your roommate, share with your mom, share with your mom's mom, share with your mom's mom's mom. And if you hated it, you absolutely disagree, you think Mario Cristobal should be a hot seat guy, you think Tony Elliott should be a great head coach, whatever it might be sure to drop that in the comments section. We want to hear your opinions because your opinion is valid, no matter how ridiculous it may be. But again, thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in next week for the next edition of the O&O Show, and we will see you there.